Philosophers talk to our times. One of the very strange things about reading and thinking across a lifetime of philosophers long dead is how their ideas change in your mind. Ideas you want to reject. In the end, you have to accept. Let me give you an example. When I first read Marx's idea of ideology, which seemed to dismiss so much of culture that I loved, and also the history that I felt was critical to understanding human nature and human destiny, it becomes mere ideology. I absolutely loathed the idea. I can't describe you how much I detested it. Not enough to make me disvalue all of Marx, but enough to make me take a distance. And yet a lifetime of trying to work out other ways to say things has convinced me more and more that in the end, ideology is a dream. Let me give you an example. One of those questions that is being asked in my home country, but also here in France, is what are British values? It gets asked by those who espouse them. And of course, what the journalist is wanting them to say is something racist. And the awful thing is they usually do. But did you know there is an entire different story of English history? I mean the left-wing English identity that centres around English values. And I've used English, not British, because I would accept Welsh and Scots having totally different values. The identity would do that without any trouble. That then centres on the notion of English as an inclusive language. You really get that in France. As an English person, I'm very good at understanding French speaking very bad English. In a way, I don't think the French actually are very good at understanding very bad French. And that's actually in the nature of the English language. Built by Alfred, arguably, well, I'd argue it, in order to create a national identity. It has that ability to articulate diversity, to include other words, to allow all grammar and meaning to break down. It is naturally then diverse and tolerant and copes with ethnic difference. And I would actually say that was integral to being British. And yet, or for all I can bind that into a great story starting with Alfred, 10 Edwards notice, and running across the rhythm of English history with Wat Tyler and Oliver Cromwell and Gerard Winstanley and Blake as dominant figures in the story. It doesn't have the money, does it? It is shouted down then by a nest of patriotism and red, white and blue, and an empty shouting that means nothing. Why? Because in the end, Marx is right and nationalism is bunkum.